Greetings everybody, Chef Adam Graham here, author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Raw Food Detox and the creator of the Live Food Experience. I'm here with Be Well TV to share a plant-based raw recipe, one that is amazing. Yes, this is pumpkin seed pesto, and the recipe features a half cup of pumpkin seeds, half cup of walnuts, 3/4 cup of olive oil. We're using about a 1/4 cup plus a teaspoon of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of miso, and that could be either mellow white, sweet, light, or chickpea miso, and a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to use fresh basil, and when we get to that portion I'll talk to you more about the amount you want, because you definitely want to we're doing a volume amount here and not a weight amount. So that is an overview of what we're looking to do here. And traditionally pesto is often made with pine nuts. Now pine nuts have a very unique flavor profile. They're very delicious, but they're also very expensive. So if you can get pine nuts and you want to make it with that, that's great, but it's not totally necessary. You can make this recipe with actually different nuts and seed combinations, or single. You could do this with all cashews. Keep in mind, cashews have a sweetness to them, so you're going to have, your pesto is going to be kind of on the sweet side. I like the combination of pumpkins and walnut. The pumpkin seeds have a unique health and nutrient profile, and the walnuts as well. Pumpkin seeds are a great source of zinc, omega-3s, supportive of prostate health, and they're also anti-parasitic. And then walnuts also have an interesting profile. They're actually good for the brain, also high in omega-3s and other healthy fats and antioxidants. So that combination gives you a nice healthy blend, and we're doing half and half here. In the past I've done this recipe and I've used actually hemp seed. So I'll do a combo of pumpkin seed and hemp seed. So that's another way you can go. Now I also like the fact that the pumpkin seeds have that green color, and so that complements the basil, which we'll be adding. So I've put the nuts and seeds in the blender. I'm going to add the lemon juice, which I hand squeezed, and then we have our little salty and spice bouquet here. We've got we have our miso measured out. This is a teaspoon of salt, and then I have the garlic here. I've already peeled it, but I'm going to chop it. It is going in the food processor, so the food processor will break it down more, but I want to make sure that I give little smaller pieces so we don't end up with a big chunk. Now you can add much more garlic if you like. I'm a big fan of garlic. Sometimes when I make this recipe I'll add 2, maybe even 3 cloves of garlic. It's kind of all up to your personal preference. Now you could also make this recipe in a blender. You just have to be a little careful that you don't over blend, and we're going to be careful that we don't over process this. I noticed that when you over process basil, especially in a blender or food processor, that it gets bitter. So I'm going to pre-pulse the ingredients that I have in here, and then I'm going to add the remaining, the olive oil and the basil. So I just want to break everything down. I'm going to scrape down the sides and give it another pulse. Now if you didn't have lemon juice, you could add apple cider vinegar. You just want to get that sour note in there, and it's just a matter of personal preference or what's available as well. I just want to make sure I get all the, see, a couple of the pumpkin seeds escape the blade and are in their whole form. Okay, now's the time where we add the basil and the oil. I'm going to add the basil first and then the oil at the very end. The reason I do the oil very last is because it coats everything and seals in the flavor. If I add the oil early on, some of the items will be coated with oil, and the flavors, the lemon won't combine as well with the walnut and the basil and so. My thinking is to add the oil at the very end and then kind of coat everything and seal in the flavors. So this is about 2 cups of lightly packed fresh basil. I stem this and it's just the leaves. We don't want the thicker, woodier stems in the basil. Now you could get, if it's nice and tender and young, then I'd consider putting some of that in there, but this is all the leaves, and it's about like I said, 2 cups. Can you put too much in? No, because that's what this is, a basil pesto. Could you do another herb? Yeah, you could use parsley. I've even seen people make pesto with cilantro, and you know, you can just be creative with it in terms of substitution and different options. So I'm just going to pulse this a little bit, get the basil down in, mix with everything else, and then I'm going to add the oil. Now, serving suggestions for this. One of my favorite ways to prepare this is to make the pesto and stuff it inside, do bell pepper slices and do stuffed bell pepper. Another way to do this is to use it as a topping for spiralized zucchini noodles, which we're going to demonstrate how you do that in a moment. Okay, so I have everything nice and blended uniformly. I'm going to add the oil carefully, not to spill it, and put it all down in there. Use a spatula to get every last bit out. Now another way you can add the oil is while the food processor is running. That's actually my preference for adding oil. But for the sake of the studio audience, we're just going to do it this way, and here we go. One more scrape down at the sides. Get it in there. And I believe we are complete. Now looking at this, I feel I could have added probably twice as much basil at this point. And give it a little taste. That has a ton of flavor, which is great, because this will go on maybe neutral flavored entree items like zucchini noodles, or you'd stuff it inside bell pepper. Well, what I'm experienced with the taste profile, I'm noticing the sour, definitely a good bit of salt, and then I'm tasting also the basil for sure. You don't want that to take a back seat. Also, the garlic. I do taste the garlic, and I'd be comfortable putting a little bit more in there. So one more pulse, get everything nice and uniform. And that is our pumpkin seed pesto. Thanks for joining us here at Be Well TV. Check me out over at livefoodexperience.com. Look forward to seeing you and hearing your questions, comments, and even recipe suggestions. We'll see you next time. Keep it live.